Bummer.
Um, so welcome everyone. We're excited to have Mitchell Slater here today. We're talking about building enrollment, attrition, things that I think all schools need and can always use additional tips and advice and strategy. It's an ongoing process no matter what stage your school is at. So it's really an important thing that we continue to work on and develop professionally. Um, Before I hand it over to Mitchell, I just wanted to tell you all a little bit about the Microschools Network in case you guys didn't know. So the Microschools Network, we're we host the largest community of microschools, small schools, hybrid, online schools in the world. So that's a great place for parents to specifically find out about these next generation school models, all kinds of different things. It's a place where we have almost 500,000 impressions happening monthly through both organic search and also paid search. So we put up ads so that microschools don't have to. We also put out lots of resources. We had a great conference last year. We do monthly webinars and chats like with you today, talking about best practice and to help our edupreneurs in the crowd learn more and enhance their school opportunities. We have research, and we just started a training program as well, which we'll be launching in October. So I'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's an exciting one with where we've partnered with Harvard Graduate School of Education to offer a leadership course, which has a really strong instructional program for for teachers and also a great program for managers too, which basically talks about all the admin and operational side of running a school. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Mitchell because I know that he might have a child coming anytime soon. So just an FYI, his wife is quite pregnant. So but Mitchell Slater runs School Success, Slater Strategies, and um he has a lot of other toolkits under his belt, and he's been doing this for plus a decade. So if you wouldn't mind, Mitchell, we're so happy to have you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Glad to be here. And yes, my wife is very pregnant, so very close. So I have my phone right here just in case if I have to get out of here quick. So I think we'll be okay. I got an hour. So obviously, as I said, my name is Mitchell Slater. So quick little background on me. I was homeschooled my entire life, and I always wanted to start a business. And so my mom said I could if I wanted to. So at 17, I started my business. I was a junior in high school and have been doing it now ever since. And here we go, 15 years later, I've been in the marketing world. And it was about 4 years ago, niched down into helping schools specifically. And that's growing enrollment, filling empty seats, and working with them mostly all across the United States is the majority of where the clients are all spread out. And I got a wife. We just celebrated 11 years of marriage and a 5-year-old son and a little girl due any time this month. So very, very blessed and love my family to death. So we're gonna have a lot of fun on this presentation today here, guys. So here's what I like to do. I love interaction. If you guys can, as Sheila was mentioning beforehand, of it's hard when nobody's interacting back with questions or chat. So I highly encourage you guys to please unmute as we go. I'm gonna stop at little pieces across the presentation. So if you do have a question on something I just taught on, please raise the hand, unmute, interrupt me, and tell me hey, wait, I have a question on that, because I don't want you to wait till the very end and then you're like, hey, I had a question 30 minutes ago about this. It'd be easier if it was along the way. So if you guys are down for that, you can pop it in the chat, unmute, whatever is best for you. I'll make sure Whitney does make sure I don't miss anything when it comes to that. I do love to know where everybody's in from. I know if you guys want, you can change your name, and if you want, you don't have to. You can click the 3 dots on your profile and change your name to whatever you want it to be. Otherwise, if you ask a question, I'm just going to say hello, Micro Schools, who's asking the question, because I don't see names. But if you can in the chat, I would love to just know where everybody's calling in from or listening in from. So somebody from DC, awesome. Because myself, I'm down in Southeast Florida. If you guys are ever down to Port St. Lucie specifically is where I'm at. So kind of between, if you're familiar with the area, like Vero Beach, West Palm Beach area is where I'm at. So I know Sheila, Athens, Georgia, awesome. And we'll see if everybody else is around on the chat. But Philadelphia, all right, good old PA, awesome. Lori, oh, another South Florida. All right, Lori, cool. All right. Well, Florida's a great state and very very private school friendly when it comes to funding. I know Sheila, you were talking about that for the funds in Georgia. Florida's a big one for that right now as well. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, here's what I'm going to do. So when I teach, I've taught this one many times. I do love to teach and help. So I don't use slides. I think it sometimes puts people to sleep. So what I do instead is I share my screen the entire time and give you guys actual examples of what I'm talking about. So you kind of like go, oh, and now I actually know what he's talking about because I can see it. So I'm going to share my screen here. And there we go. We tried this out earlier, so I want to make sure. Whitney, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Perfect. Thank you. All right. Shameless plug. I do host a podcast. If you guys are interested in, I don't know if you're into content and everything, every Monday morning, post a new episode. Interviewing typically school leaders from all over the country. We've had some international guests as well on there, and always looking for future guests as well. So if you are the head of school at your micro school or whatever school you're at, please let me know. You can get my contact information from Whitney and reach out because I'm always interviewing people to potentially be guests on the podcast. And we just learned about, hey, obviously all about school success and what's helping your school, what you're struggling with, and all of that. So love for you guys to listen in if you need a place to listen to. So, all right. So here's where we go. We're jumping in here. So what I want to do, we're talking about obviously building enrollment, managing attrition. And so one of the things that I want to kind of focus on is we'll give you guys like 7 things. Typically, I like to call it as the 7 things you probably never thought of to do when it comes to growing your enrollment. And they're all going to kind of go together. But here's my goal. There's 7 we're going to go over. My goal is you can take at least one of them from today and go, ooh, I'm not doing that, or I've never thought about that before. I'm going to work on that one. I'm going to focus on that one because obviously 7 can be pretty overwhelming. And I'm one of my, I guess, like pet peeves is like we go to webinars, we go to conferences, we get really excited and we're like, that's a really good idea. But then we get right back into what we were doing. We forget, we don't implement some of the things. So my goal for you guys is just take one of them. If you're like, ooh, I want to focus on that one. You're entering into summer, great time to focus on some of these things to get ready for the fall, or use some of them right now to try and fill some of the seats for the fall. So the first one I want you guys to focus on is building and getting your own school marketing team. So we shorten that to SMT. So if you're taking notes, SMT is having your own school marketing team. And I'll show you this in a second for Concordia Academy of making this point. What that is where you guys would have students from your school actually be like an internal marketing team for your school. We've seen this work time and time again with schools we've worked with all over the country, where they might not have the budget to hire a company to help with marketing or even hire somebody internally to help with their marketing, but they have students who are willing to say, hey, I would be willing to help with our marketing, but maybe they just need a little bit of training. Most of the time, they just need permission to be able to do it and saying, hey, would you be willing to help with our social media posting? Or, hey, would you be willing to come take photos once a month that we can use for the website? It could be a whole bunch of things. Obviously, marketing is a very, very broad term, so it could kind of be whatever you guys want it to. It could be technically donor development and helping to get more fundraising going. I could fall under, maybe you want to start your own podcast. I've seen some schools be really successful starting their own internal podcast to either help market the school or also just help to get information out to people. But I highly encourage you guys to use your existing students and have them be on an internal little SMT. We've seen some schools do it with 1 student all the way up to about 8 to 10 is the most we've seen on a school that's done a school marketing team. And one of the things, so my background, I was a youth pastor for years, and I loved when I was a youth pastor, I would take some of these kids and say, hey, I want you to be in charge of trash tonight. I want you to be in charge of prayer. I want you to be in charge of devotion or whatever it was. And I saw once you give kids permission, you give kids ownership over something, they naturally step up into that moment and fill that need because they're like, oh, he's given me, this is my responsibility to do. We've seen the exact same thing happen when schools implement their own internal school marketing team. So think about your students. And some of you guys might be just starting out and have maybe like kindergarten, first, second grade. I understand like that's going to be like a little bit different. Maybe they can give you some ideas. But if you are one of the ones that has multi-grade levels and you get up into the 6th, 7th, 8th and up, that's where we've seen schools thrive in this. The youngest we've seen is 5th, 6th grade, being on a team and helping with ideas, whether it's writing, creating things. But figure out kind of the biggest need you have when it comes to marketing, but please like use your students. You can also use your parents that are a part of the school too. But I really want to say, hey, focus on the students. It's like a great resume builder for them, but it's also a huge thing because you don't have to pay them. They're actually paying to go to the school, and then they're there to help you with your school marketing team. So I'll highlight Concordia a couple times throughout this presentation, but and I won't play the video, but these are their students that actually like did all of this on their own. So they wrote the script, they recorded this video, they edited the video, and there's a little classical school in Kansas, and they did all that, called it the classical cure. Was like, hey, like this is the cure you need, for a great education. It was kind of their piece that they went with it. And we did this, and we helped them use that as a Facebook ad that we used to market to get more people into the school. But it was all 100% done by their students, and they were specifically a high school, and they did a really, really good job. So you guys could go back and watch it later. It's, there's their web address, ca wichita.org, but all students. The leader of the SMT there, she's like, hey, here's the idea. And the students came up with all of it on their own. So again, just giving them permission, but I highly encourage you guys to have your own marketing team run by students. It's a great way if you don't have the budget to hire somebody, whether it's a company or a person internally, to do that for you. I try and stop, like I said, at every piece of it. Any questions at all on school marketing team or anything? And if so, unmute or pop it in the chat.
Say I attempted that this past year. At my school, we have like elective classes in the afternoon, and that was one of our elective classes. Was we called it like a social medias, teach them about proper social media usage, and that it did not take off the way I'd hoped it would. And I
Okay.
think what we're saying about the number of students in it, I think we may have had a few too many students on it. It was just hard to manage them, to get them to produce content. I mean, they would video forever and had all this, but getting down to the editing and posting. But I think maybe the second go round, I've kind of seen the pitfalls of it and how to make it more productive. And I will say, I actually used a platform called Class Intercom, which was helpful in it gave the students the right, but it would come through an adult to be approved before it got posted. So that was pretty helpful. Like, they would post stuff on the platform, and then it had to be approved before it went out, and it would connect to all of your social media platforms. But
Yep.
I try that. I think, doing it once, I think maybe reducing the number of students that were in there might be helpful. Um,
How many were there?
there was probably 12 to 15
Okay.
students. And it was just
Okay.
managing number and trying to assign each one to it. And it was a weekly class, 45 minutes every week. And it was just kind of keeping them focused on completing a task and getting it on there. We sort of got our steam towards the end of the semester. And the teacher of it also, she had a death in the family and was out for a few weeks. It just didn't quite get the steam that we wanted. But it is something that I think is worth trying again.
Yeah, definitely try again. I think you'll the more you do it, you're going to find some things that are going to work better than others. That is a lot of students. Not saying it can't work with 12 to 14, but that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen when it comes to that, because you naturally are like, well, I think so-and-so's got that, or I think so-and-so's going to do that. And then it's too many to manage. I think the sweet spot is around 5, because then you kind of have, again, every school has done this so incredibly different that we've like helped and coached on to do this. But if you kind of give it, kids specific roles that they're in charge of, that's typically the best. And I love that you're meeting once a week and making that a priority. Focus on, like what you said, social media was the one thing you focused on. Maybe this next year, I've really encouraged schools to have kids help with donor development. That's honestly a huge piece. If you have a student calling you about trying to like build a relationship and get funds, it's really hard to say no to a student when it comes to donor dollars. So that's another piece that you could maybe tap into. If can find the weakness kind of that you have at your school and use it. And if it's social media, it's a great use of getting them in there. Because I see one of the questions that came in here was, how do you get volunteers to be reliable? What we've had schools do that have done this is they actually, like, again, every school very different here, but they actually apply to this. They had students apply to be a part of the SMT. And so the head of school would then go through all the students who actually were like, hey, I want to be a part of this. And they would go through it and interview each student and put this, like, this is a serious thing. We're not just like, this isn't just like just for fun. And that helped the kids. You get a better quality group of kids that applied. And then they actually had kids sign like an agreement. Obviously, it's not like binding, but saying like, here's what I'm agreeing to. I'm agreeing to take this seriously. I'm agreeing to show up once a week and take charge. And if not, I'm going to be asked to step down from the team if I'm not able to. And just getting the kids to say like, oh, I'm committing to this. You share that with the family, saying, hey, little Tommy's signing up for this thing, and here's what they're agreeing to. I'm just letting you know. Then it helps the accountability piece step in, and I think you'll get, Sheila, naturally, I think you'll get better success when it comes to that with your team, and then whoever had asked the other one, I'm hoping that would help as well. Um, Sheila, a class like that could be divided into smaller groups. Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, great. Elizabeth put in there. You could divide it into smaller groups if need be. So awesome. Anybody else have anything to unmute real quick and ask before I jump into number 2? Cool. All right. So jumping into number 2, if you guys are taking notes, let me pull up my notes. All right. The second one is, and I'm hoping you guys all already have a website. On your website, I want you to add a lead generator to your website. I'm going to show you what that is. This is another client we work with out of Maryland, Washington Christian Academy. And so if I scroll down on their site, down here on the bottom, they have this free downloadable resource that's on their website. And you can click the button and you can download this free resource if you're a potential interested family in the school. This does a lot of things. And so I highly, highly encourage you guys to all have some type of free resource on your website that people can opt into for free. So they use their email, their cell phone number to get that resource. And for you guys being micro schools, I highly encourage to be something along those worlds of like why a smaller school is a great solution for a family. So you could be the 5 reasons why a micro school is a great foundation for your family. Or five questions to ask a micro school before you enroll. Some type of just quick free resource could be like 1,000 words or less. I'm not talking an actual like book here, but like short enough that you just offer it on your website like this as a free download. Because what's happening is you're going to have a lot of people go to your website. If you guys have analytics set up on your website, which I hope you do because that's free, you can kind of see how many people are going to our website to begin with. And let's say you have 100 people going to your website a month. Maybe you get 5 people that call you or submit a question. And you're like, wait, what happened to the other 95 that came to the website? And a lot of times people are going, they're just trying to get information. How much is their tuition? When do they start? How long they've been around? All these different pieces of it. And so adding this helps with people going who are on the fence, like they're interested. Micro school, never heard about that before. What is that? This is a great way to kind of get somebody's information who's on the fence, but wouldn't have called or wouldn't have come in for a tour or done anything, but they'll give you their email to download this resource. And so it's a great way to capture some interested families who maybe they're not interested right now, but maybe they're going to be interested later, or they are interested right now. So there's lots of softwares you guys can use to help manage one of these. You can easily, create one on your own or chat GPT it or something to like write it, get it designed. And then you just ask for their email in turn. So for instance, if I click on this for Washington Christian, it's going to open up another page. And they're going to say, hey, I want your name, your phone number, and your email address. And then when you hit download, it's going to send you the book. And what we've done for them when we built this for them was we helped craft some emails and text messages that automatically follow the download. So you guys are small schools where I know you maybe don't have all the manpower that you need. So I highly encourage you to use technology as much as you can for some of the manual pieces that can easily be automated. And so like when you download these, it's going to send you the resource. It's also going to send you 3 to 5 emails and text messages that are talking about, hey, here's some more information about the school. Here's some information about the head of school, all that, but it's all automated. So you're not having somebody manually have to send that out, but it gets your name in front of the person and it sends more information about the school that they can use later. So something, again, you guys can craft something like this on your own. You can use some basic softwares like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact, which are some of the big email providers. We specifically use Zenrollment for any of the schools that we do this for. And obviously, full disclosure, it's ours. We created that specifically for our clients and schools that we work with. You guys can use anything like MailChimp and Constant Contact will run one of these in the background for you. And they're typically $15 a month, 20 something bucks a month to run something like this. But great way to get some information from people so that you can follow up with them.
This is a really great idea. I love this idea. And I think the other thing too, it kind of transforms a cold lead into a warmer lead, right? Because you know that they've taken the time to download something, to read it. And I think also it could be an opportunity for right fit, right? Because I think a lot of times micro schools, we have a challenge finding the right fit for right fit families, right? Because maybe they like the idea of a small school, but in actuality, they have something more of a conventional classroom idea, or they think that maybe this is only for students a certain kind of profile. And some of that information you don't necessarily want to put on your website, but you might be willing to put it into a downloadable resource where people are looking and saying like, okay, this is kind of some of the things that we look for from a parent handbook, or this is kind of what a student profile looks like. So I think it's a really great idea and can also help a little bit with screening families and creating warm leads.
True, because you guys are your time is of the essence. So if you have all these people booking tours, for instance, and maybe they're a lot of them are not good fits, you're like, oh man, I just wasted all that time with that family who was like, oh, this is not what I thought this was. And so could this potentially weed out some people to save you guys time, or you're only, doing tours for people that are like, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for and what I'm wanting. 100%. So highly encourage you guys to do this. If you have questions on it at the end, of course, pop them in. Want to do the chat here real quick. I saw a couple. I think it's from the last one. So what if volunteers are parents because the kids are very young? So you can still use parents for the SMT if you want. Like if you have parents willing to say, hey, I want to help with some of the marketing, man, give it to them. Say, hey, love your help. Here's what we're needing. And they could even have the kids be there to learn and assist them. It's a great resume builder for these kids to say, I helped with my school's. That's why I give it a name. I call it an SMT. So they're like, I was on my school's SMT. Really good thing for them. Maybe they want to do marketing later on in life or business. The other question was, do you know if Mail Poet will do the automatically send the follow-up emails? I haven't heard of Mail Poet. I'm sure if I here, I can just Google it real quick. Let's see. I bet you if it's anything Mail Poet. Email marketing, I'm sure it will. Better email for WordPress powered what? I would
Yeah,
say
I
from just reading that real quick, I'm saying yes.
yeah, I think you can set up automation through MailPoet. We also use that as a plugin at one point.
Yep.
It's I
Awesome.
think it's a little bit clunkier than like MailChimp or some of the other email servers, but yeah, I think you can set it up pretty easily.
How much is that one, Whitney?
I think it's like 30. There's a free plugin through WordPress, and then there's also a paid version based on how many in your database.
Okay. Awesome. Any questions on this one? I want to make sure being respectful of everybody's time too. But any questions on having a lead generator on the website? Cool. And if you have something, always come back to it. So I'll go into the third one for you guys. So this next one is like sales calls to local organizations. And I know you're like, no sales calls, no, Mitchell. I don't want to do sales calls. I just want to be in the classroom. And I understand that. So here's what I'm going to show you. So here's what I want you guys to do. Wherever you guys are spread out across the country, internationally, wherever you guys are, there are preschools, there's daycares, there's different organizations that I just want you guys to start trying to build relationships with those people. When we're talking with like little, and maybe you guys are, if you guys are any faith-based micro schools, trying to connect with the local churches and local pastors in your area is a huge thing. Because like I always share this story. When I was a youth pastor, the none of the schools in our area, I knew of them, but none of the people like came over to like meet me and be like, hey, just want to let you know, here's our church or our school and in the area, here's what we do. Now again, I knew of them, but I knew my kids really, really well at the church and like what they what was going on in their life, what school they went to. Kind of knew that just naturally as part of the job. And if the kid had an issue at school, I might go, you know what? I know so and so over at this school. You should go check them out. And so this is the same thing you guys can do with preschools and daycares is try and start building relationships with the local organizations in your area. It's a great free way to have referrals come in. So you might go to a preschool, again, Google preschool near me or daycare near me and look at all the ones that are close by to you and just start trying to build relationships with them. And one time is not going to do it. If you just run by and go, "Oh, I met the lady. Her name is Whitney. She's great. Like I think she's good." If you never touch base with them again, like I wouldn't expect to get referrals from them. But if you're trying to check in once a quarter and just let them know some of the resources you have at your school, some of the things you're focusing on, maybe you give a specific, I'm not a fan of discounts, but like, because I don't want to cheapen education and all this, but if you say, hey, anybody from your preschool that comes over, we'll waive the application fee or enrollment fee, something like that. if you can kind of build those relationships with all these local organizations that don't have like a K-12 piece of it, so they're naturally the kids are just going to go to a school anyways. If you can start building that relationship, and maybe once a month you come in and do a or during enrollment season, a bagel day or a donut day or something where you bring in donuts and try and meet with the parents that are dropping off for preschool or daycare. This is a great way to like spend a few like $50 on some donuts and try and meet some of the parents of a daycare or preschool instead of trying to throw hundreds, if not thousands of dollars at doing some other marketing things. I highly encourage you guys to be building the relationships with these local for-profit and nonprofit organizations that do work with kids that are technically not a competitor of yours if you're not doing the same thing. So if you guys haven't done that, please do it. Have some handouts ready. This is a great opportunity to reinforce your lead generator that you had from the last one. So if you have a resource on your website, you can now go to programs like this and say, you know what, we have a resource. We're a local micro school in the area. We have a free resource on our website that talks about what all that is. Can I send it to you? You get their information, you send it to them, but now you have their contact information for follow-up later. So it's a great way to like prepare your marketing for the long term. Because once you have created that lead generator, you can use it for years. We have one client, we created one over 5 years ago, and they're still using the same one. I do think they should update it, but they've been using the same one for 5 years because it's still getting them leads, it's still getting them downloads, and they're not having to pay to get those. It's just sitting on their website. So people come there and they opt into it and download it. So try and connect again. Look through Google. You got all these people here. You can click on the website, find maybe the
Yeah,
owner or
I was
go
just
ahead,
going to
Brittany.
add some I was just going to add some ideas to that too because I heard of schools that connected with pediatricians, right? Trusted referral networks, introducing them to pediatricians that are in the area, as well as tutoring centers, boys and girls club, after school kind of karate, judo, that sort of stuff where kids are also going. So I think there's lots of opportunities. And I think also, too, right? Building those public partnerships can be great later on down the line if you need funding, if you are looking for after school care to build out, if you're looking for, right? There's so many different public partnerships. We did a workshop on our conference about that and how important that is for longevity and sustainability, especially for micro schools that have challenge.
Awesome. Love it.
Someone wrote, we're online. What do you suggest for across the USA?
So I'm assuming online meaning just no, there's no in-person component. It's like a almost like a homeschool piece of it then. So if that's the case, you could still build relationships with, okay, perfect. Thank you. You can still build relationships with people who are looking for that. So I know this obviously it's very, very broad. I don't know if you have a way of if you have a specific target at all, because obviously now it's like every preschool in the country and every like that's really hard to go after. But um, you could find people who are maybe they did preschool, but they're looking at homeschooling. Again, that's really broad, so it is hard to go after that. But you got people that like for instance, we homeschool our son, but he was in like this little preschool with some friends of his, and so. But if somebody had reached out through that organization, not saying we would have used them, but saying like, hey, we're this resource for online K-12 or whatever. Obviously, I would have read it, been like, oh, let me see what this is, because we already knew we were going to homeschool because I was homeschooled, and so uh, if you can connect still with organizations, you never know. Like that takes one person going, yeah, I'm looking at homeschooling, I didn't know what resource to go after, and this organization that I'm already paying and trusting with my kid for preschool, they're saying this company's good, so I'm gonna reach out to them, or this nonprofit is good. But it'd be easier for if you knew exactly that target market, because obviously that's way too broad to go like across the US who to target, but it's all about relationships and who you know. So the more people you can connect with, the better it'll be. I know that's not a great answer. It's just hard when it's super broad for that one.
Yeah, I think connecting online groups too, right? There's a lot of Facebook groups that have pretty itemized interest of people, um, from Montessori to, I mean, what kind of curriculum and things that you're offering. I think you can find those kind of people, and then as long as you're providing some content that's not only promotional, but you're talking about like, oh, these are, something interesting within the group so that people also start forming a relationship or see you posting regularly, not only like, this is our open house, come to this, learn
Yeah.
more about the school, right? But they want to see like, oh, they're actually interested in child development, or they're talking about, different curricular resources and things like that. I think those are also great opportunities to start building, and then meeting people online, because building online relationships, absolutely, you can do it. You don't have to be in person.
100%. All right. Well, I'm going to jump into number 4 here, guys. Obviously, keep the questions coming in the chat or unmute and interrupt me if you have something on the top of your head. The 4th one is book your tours, or another word for it, academic consultations online. And so I'll show you guys that as well for Concordia here. So 2 ways to word this. Most schools, they'll talk about booking a tour, and I don't mind that terminology. We've actually had some schools have really good success with switching from the terminology of tour to an academic consultation, because it has a different mindset shift in somebody, like, oh, I'm just going to go tour the school. But if you word it saying, hey, like for instance right here, schedule your academic consultation, you're saying, hey, we're going to sit down, we're going to go over, like, what are you looking for in a school? What are you wanting in a school? Here's what we are. Here's our vision. It kind of gives you, it's a whole different mindset shift of the wording. And obviously, you guys know this, words are very, very powerful. The whole saying, sticks and stones can break your bones. Like, so I don't like that one at all. Words are powerful. They have a lot of weight. And so how you present yourself and how you word those things is going to mean a lot to the people who are interested in going to your school. Again, I'm fine with tour, but also I like this one, academic consultation. What I really want you guys to look at doing is giving people the ability to book this online. So if I click on this, schedule an academic consultation with Concordia, it's going to open up a calendar link, which you guys are probably very familiar. There's so many different calendar softwares out there. You got Calendly, you got Calendar Hero, there's tons of them. Okay. Just find one that you want to use for it, but make specific times available that somebody can book one of those. And maybe you do it group style, which is fine. I'm fine with that too. If you guys want to do that, where you have 5 people come in for a tour at once, or it's just one-on-one. Biggest thing is make it available for somebody to be able to do it digitally. And I'm going to tell you guys why. So we've come across a lot of schools where they say, oh, just email us and we'll get back to you to schedule a time. Well, one, that's obviously more time you have to put in to try and figure out where that works. Then you're going to have to follow up with them to remind them, hopefully, so they don't not show up. Just a lot of unnecessary parts there. Plus, think about a typical family. They're busy all day long, got work, school, maybe they're already in another school. By the time they go, hey, let's look at school options, a lot of families are looking at it after the kids are in bed. Well, then you're typically closed. You're not answering the phone in the middle of the night when people are maybe looking at schools and have a question. And so you're trying to play this game of like, oh, let me call them tomorrow when they're open. Oh, they didn't answer. Now they have to call me back. It can get really messy really quickly. And we had a client specifically have this, and the head of school came in the next morning, getting ready for the day. And she looked at her calendar and she had two tours come in, and she looked at when they came in, and it was 10:30 and 11:30 the night before, that a family, think about it, was looking, and they're going over with their family going, oh, there's a tour tomorrow morning. Let's do that real quick before work or whatever. And they never would have scheduled that tour if that wasn't an option, because they wouldn't have been able to call the school and get that scheduled. And so what you guys can do is you can make specific times available in any calendar software you use. But inside of these, you can build your follow-ups. And so if we set this up for a school, we automatically build in a 24-hour text and email reminder to the person, as well as a 1-hour text and email reminder to the family. So many times people just don't show up because they forgot or they got busy. We make sure when any of these softwares you can do this for, they get a reminder. So 24 hours, don't forget, you have a tour tomorrow at 1:00. Here's the information. Here's the address. We'll see you then. And then a 1-hour text. Hey, don't forget, in 1 hour, you're meeting with Mrs. Smith. She's going to give you a tour of the school. Here's the address. Look forward to seeing you soon. Like, that's powerful because you're not having to do it manually. It's automatically done, and the people come, and you can do a lot of fun things with it. But if you guys haven't done this yet, please, highly encourage you to add it. Some of these softwares are only like $15 a month, some of them even free, but it'll save you that and the time alone of having to follow up and do that manually and try and getting people scheduled and moving them all around. So highly encourage that.
We have a message about recorded visit. What do we think about that?
What is specifically is that? I don't know if that is the person who asked that. Can you unmute and explain that maybe a little bit more, just so I understand what you're asking?
Well, because we're the online program.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me okay? I have what you might call an open house recorded.
Yep.
And I don't want to give away, I don't want to not connect with people because they can do this recorded. But on the other hand, in the summer in particular, they can't visit a class because there aren't any.
Sure. So highly encourage you then to do like a one-on-one with them. So like a calendar. So like if I, when I
Okay.
talk to somebody, I send them, let's see if this works. I send them my calendar link, and this is like my one-on-one. So they pick a 30-minute call. And so I would say,
Got it.
depending on how you want to word it, you would say, hey, we'd love to have a one-on-one discovery call, online tour, however you want to word it, but they can still book directly with you and have a call on video, like back and forth. And if they're, if you have any kind of things you can send them beforehand about the school, this would be really, really valuable because then they're still seeing like, oh, okay, this is a real person. They can ask real questions, get them answered live. I would shift to this over the pre-recorded thing. Now, obviously, if you don't have enough time in the day to be able to even do a one-on-one, then continue to do the part that you're doing. But I would make sure to like give them your calendar link, call it digital coffee with the head of school or something, virtual coffee, something like that, where they can have a one-on-one or whatever that ends up being with your school. I would do that for your situation.
Thank you.
You bet.
So Mitchell, we recently updated our website and we changed to this scheduling a tour through Calendly. And I'm struggling. I'm thinking of going back. So prior to having the where they come in and they set up their tour, we had a link that took them directly to our like student information system where we got a lot of information on them. And so by doing it this way, two of the problems I'm having are number one, they're not in our system yet, right? Then I have to go in and add them to this system so they're not showing up under my inquiries. But also just, we are a very small school. I would be the only person given the tour, but I also have all these other hats. And with them coming in and putting their times, it was like, oh no, I'm supposed to be helping this teacher with that during that time. It was just, I don't know. I'm struggling. I was thinking of
Yep.
actually going back to the way we did it prior because I'm struggling with that format of someone kind of scheduling my time. It's just there's so many different hats that we wear.
Sure. So a couple answers on that one. You're in charge of this. So you could say, I'm only going to do 8 a.m. I'm only going to do 5 p.m., 7 p.m. You just say, this is the availability. And you could say, hey, if these don't work for you, please reach out to us directly to maybe find a time that works for you. You're not letting them dictate it all the time. You're saying, hey, this is what's available. And so if you can, hopefully you find that time that consistently works. It might be once a week I don't want it to be once a week, but maybe it's once a week at 7 p.m. is when you do tours instead of every day. There's availability like Concordia has here for theirs. But yeah, if you can try and find that, that'd be awesome. When I have seen schools go back or use their SIS for this, for like getting all their information, I do try and get them to not do that or at least ask for too much. Most schools ask for too much to get a tour booked, or an information. Like they'll say, they usually don't even have a calendar option. They'll say, hey, fill out all this information and then we'll get back to you about scheduling a tour. And I'm like, that's a little like it's too much. It needs to be thorough. Now, I'll show you that when I say that, I'm going to show you what Concordia does. They do ask, there are specific questions, but you can schedule. So they're asking for who you are, what's your name, number, your student's name, what grade. It's like they're still asking some questions, but it's not crazy. And then boom, you schedule. So you do have some information about them before they come in, and you know actually who they are. Most of the times when I've seen the schools do the SIS route, it's usually pretty clunky and tedious of like all the things that they ask to get somebody in for a tour. I totally get having all their information in one spot, and I get that. So with the schools we work with who do use Zenrollment functions as like a CRM. If you guys have heard of like HubSpot or a place where you can keep track of all your contacts. So I kind of tell schools like, hey, Zenrollment's like you're keeping track of all potential people. And then once they enroll, they go over to your SIS, like your fax, your RenWeb, all those different softwares over there. And the way you can do this, if you're like worried about the information transferring over, this is what we tell our clients is your application is your SIS. There's like an SIS link, your really long fax link or something. And you would take that and send that to people. So like for instance, Enrollment, they're in enrollment, they're scheduling their tours, downloading resources, but then when they're ready to enroll or apply, you send them the fax link. And now when they fill that out to apply, now they're inside your SIS to keep track of. So it actually is a way to if you have two separate softwares, you can kind of separate it in a way of going, these are all potential enrollees, and here's all the people who are like, I'm applying, I'm wanting to be in part of this school. I don't know if did that help, or did that just complicate it for you? What do you
Yeah,
think?
that makes perfect sense. And I think one of our key pieces we're missing is maybe we're just like once they book to schedule the tour, we need to like have look a few more questions for them. Not a lot,
Yep.
like you said, facts is what we use, and it's clunky.
Yeah.
So maybe just adjusting what information we're getting from them at the initial, because I don't think we had phone number. I mean, it was just sort of a. Now you mentioned Zenrollment. What
Mhm.
is that? I'm not familiar with that. What is
Yeah,
that like a form?
yeah, so it's a school CRM platform. We created it a few years ago for
Okay.
schools, because most of the schools we work with, we realized from our perspective, most schools didn't have a marketing problem, but they had a leads management problem. So they were getting people interested in the school, but schools were having a hard time following up with them and saying like, oh, they were interested in our school in March. Here's the information. And then schools wouldn't follow up with them anymore. Or they'd follow up a couple of times and then never follow up with them anymore. And so I was like, well, man, maybe they actually don't need marketing. They just need help with managing the people that are interested in the school. So we built Zenrollment to help with automations and follow up to kind of take that off the school from having to do it manually or not doing it at all. It's kind of what we were finding, schools weren't doing it at all. So that's what we built. So it's like your calendar, it's the lead generator, kind of manages all that back end to get people to enroll in the school.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was very helpful.
You bet. All right. Any guys, any other questions on this piece for scheduling tours or academic consultations? Cool. All right. I'm going to go on to the next one. So next one, I call perfect your presentation. So when I Googled this real quick near me, so I Googled micro schools near me. Acton, I know, is a big one that has places all over. We actually have one here in Port St. Lucie. And so if I Google them, they have their listing pop up. So encourage you guys, with the exception of, I know, the online school, I know that you can't have a Google business profile like this one over here, but like, see how do you guys look online. Like website, obviously super important, how that looks and how you present yourself, but also just like Google yourself and see how do you look online. What are the photos people are seeing? Are there reviews that people are seeing? So I kind of call this one like perfect your presentation of like, what does it look like? So obviously you got the online piece, super important, how you guys look and how people are perceiving you online. But then there's the second piece. So they get wowed by your website or wowed by your reviews or anything. They go, you know what? Yeah, I'm coming in for a tour. I want to meet this school. And then when they come in, you've maybe spent all this time and effort on the online piece, but you've kind of forgot the in-person piece. And we see this missed a lot, where people will show up and uh, the signage isn't good at the street. Like they're like, I don't know where to go. I think I go in here, and they pull in and they don't see like which door to go in. And then they go in and maybe some light bulbs are out, the windows are dirty, the carpet's dirty. Like the way you present yourself, that first impression is so incredibly important. So kind of just think about like, obviously we're in summer. Think about like, okay, what does that first impression look like when people are coming in, obviously online, but now more so getting into the physical piece when they come into the school of, do you know their name when they're coming in? Do you look at the information and go, oh, here comes the Smith family. Hi, Mrs. Smith, I'm so-and-so. Great to meet you. Is this Cody your son Cody? That's like all of that of like you took notes, you care about this family, you're welcoming them. All of that just makes it look really, really good, especially being a smaller school, of saying like, hey, like we care about you, we love you, this is our school, and just how it looks. That first impression is huge. I mean, we do that when everybody goes on dates, you're trying to get married, like that first impression is really big. It's the same thing for a school. If they come in and they have any type of hesitation, they're already kind of on edge. And so we want to try and alleviate that as much as possible. So what I encourage you guys to do, find somebody that loves you, that will tell you the actual truth and not just be like, this was great, good job. But the actual friend that will say, yeah, this is not good, I'm super confused. And I have them go through the process of coming to the school for the first time. So maybe they pull you up online and they go, hey, I'm going to come in for a fake tour, and they come in and they give you that perspective. Like, you know what? I actually had a hard time finding it. I wasn't sure where you guys were. I didn't know which door to go in. When I came in, the smell was there was a weird smell I smelled, and let them share that, because if they're perceiving that, everybody else is perceiving that the same way as well. And it gives you a chance, especially over the summer, to kind of fix Like, what are some of those things we need to do so we can perfect your presentation specifically for the school? Any questions on perfecting your presentation? Perfect. All right. Two more, guys. So one of the second to last one is, I'm gonna pull this one up here. And I see pros and cons to both sides of this. I'm going to share kind of what we've seen, and you guys can figure out what you want to do on your side. I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but I will share with you some of the pros and cons of this one. So last one is removing your tuition from your website. So how much your actual school costs, removing those numbers from your website. Now, pros and cons to this. Typically, I'll say people are like, what? Why would I do that? So a couple things. So we have Concordia here. They're one of the schools that have opted to remove their tuition from their website. We have Washington Christian, who has chosen they want to keep it on their website. And it's right here publicly for everybody to see. And so if I go back here, so for them, they opted not there. Hey, here's our application fee, enrollment fee, and all that stuff. Here's what is happening psychologically with people when they go to a website. If you guys pull up your analytics of how many people are going to your website and where on the website they're going, typically the second most visited page is your tuition or admissions page, because they'll go to the website on the home page, they'll read some information, but they're like, how much is it going to cost? And they go to the tuition page. And typically, if they're just shopping by price, they'll see the price and go, oh, that's good, or oh, nope, that's not good. And then they're out and they're looking at the next one. But if they're seeing this and they go, oh, okay, I have to inquire, you're going to weed some people out who are like, okay, I'm not going to bother doing that. Or like, oh, let me inquire and see what their tuition is. And typically this ends up being one of your greatest lead generators possible, because people are going to inquire to get that information. Now, obviously there's good ways and bad ways to do this. If they just call you like, hey, how much is your tuition? You're like, it's $10,000. You're like, okay, thanks. And they click. That defeated the whole purpose of why you did that. Ideally, what you want to do is they call and they say, how much is your tuition? Like, hey, actually, we have a breakdown of like what it is by grade and how it is. Can I send you, what's your email so I can send you the breakdown of it? And they're, oh, here's my email. And then you send it to them. Now you have somebody's contact information to follow up and see like, hey, did you have any questions on it? Would you like to come in for a tour? Anything like that? Now, there's that side. Then you have the side of people going, wait, I just want to know what it is. I don't want to waste my time on seeing like, how much is it? Is it too much? Is it not too much? So I see both sides of this. I like to present it for you guys to kind of get an idea of like, what is it best for your school and your specific city and your specific situation. Like if you're in Florida, we have this thing is like $8,000 or $9,000 for the scholarship for this area. If you wanted to go to a private school, it's a different conversation now, because these people have like virtual checks for $9,000 to go to a school of their choice in the private sector. That's a big deal. That does change the game a little bit of how you do this. But psychologically, what typically is happening is somebody goes to your website and if they see tuition. So let's say it's $10,000, just as an easy number, easy example. You're going to have some people are going to go to your website and they're going to see $10,000 and they're going to go, wow, that's a lot. I could never afford that. And they click out and they go to the next one. You're going to have some people that go there and they're going to go, ooh, 10,000. That's a really cheap school. I want to go to one that's better than that. And they click and go back. So sometimes you're going to lose people on both sides, but maybe your school has financial aid or tuition aid or anything like that you can give. But those people didn't know it because they just saw the price and got freaked out, either too high or too low. So there's a lot that goes into this. I want you guys to kind of talk to your board or talk to some people at your school of like, what is it for you guys? Again, Concordia, this has helped them actually get a lot more leads as a school, because people are calling or inquiring about, hey, looking at how much is your tuition? And then Washington, they just said, hey, no, we want to have it right up front. So we have clients that have done both sides. Kind of just wanted to give you guys the idea of seeing what we've seen both sides. And I've gotten some clients more leads where they can get the conversations going and started. So let me see a question here. Because we're online, our website is crucial. Do you have any criteria for it? Definitely for the online one, having a way for them to book a call for sure with you directly. I think people are going to be really hesitant to something that's online without having that component to be able to talk to somebody and be like, okay, they're real, they're legit, they're good. So pushing that for first and foremost on the website, hey, book a call with us. Here's our calendar link. Will be huge. Any type of video, pre-recorded video of you, yourself, and some of the things will be really good way for saying, hey, here's some information about our school, just so they can kind of get comfortable or familiar with what you guys do would be awesome. And I see you say here, if the tuition is on the website, should you put something about financial aid? I do highly suggest that. If you have something like that, you don't have to have all the details. Just say, if you do put your tuition, say it's $10,000, tuition aid available, apply, apply today or apply within. If you guys need somebody for tuition aid verification, I have a friend of mine that does that. It doesn't cost your school anything. It's the people who pay for that when they need a tuition aid verification done. So you guys can properly do tuition aid if that is something you guys are needing to do or are doing. It doesn't cost your school anything for each report that's run. But I do highly encourage you, if you have that, to tell people that, so it kind of gives them a reason, like, oh, I can't do 10,000, but they have tuition aid available, I'll inquire. So yeah, any questions on that? Anybody? Any other thing from the chat, or unmute if you have any questions about tuition on or off the website? Right. Okay, I'm gonna go into the last point, and then obviously if you guys have questions, ask away at the end. The last one is to re-engage past families. So sort of kind of touched on this just a little bit earlier when we were talking about like the lead generator and the power of getting these people's contacts. I'll show you guys a quick like analogy. I love sharing it. It's the cherry analogy. And actually, I'll stop sharing here because I don't think well, actually, no, I'm going to share something in a second. All right. So the cherry analogy. All right. Here's all right. So typically, let's just imagine 10% of the people that inquire to your website or talk to you, they're cherry pits. They're never going to enroll with you. They don't want to be with a micro school. They're wanting to do something else. And so that's okay. 10% cherry pits, that's all right. Another 10% is typically the red ripe cherries. They're ready to enroll today. They're, hey, here's my application. I'm ready for the fall. I'm excited. That's the 10%. But the majority of people are the green cherries. About 80% are the green cherries. And they're not ready to enroll right now with you, but they might be ready 3 months from now or 3 years from now. We don't know, because a lot of times we've seen schools, somebody will come in and tour and they have a 2-year-old. They're like, well, we actually don't start till kindergarten, but parents are like looking for the options. They want to make sure their a spot is reserved for their kid, and they're looking for options. But most of the time a school will go, oh yeah, well, let us know in 3 years if you're interested in applying or enrolling in the school. And they never talk to them again. Well, 3 years is a long time. Even 6 months, 3 months is a long time. And so a lot of times we'll just forget to follow up or never follow up. And so I encourage you guys, like, there's so much importance in continuing to follow up with people and sharing your information and saying, hey, you were interested 6 months ago in our school, or hey, a year ago. Regular communication is so incredibly important. You've worked so hard to get those people's information, their contact information, their email. Just use it. Don't let it go away, because you've worked really hard to get it. And so continue to follow up and use that as a way to get people into the school. Biggest thing is overly communicate. If you feel like you're not communicating enough, you probably are not. So yes, communicate more, and you should be in a good spot. And so before I pass it off for more questions, there were questions that Whitney had sent me that came in beforehand. So I'm going to touch on those really quick before we jump into any others that you guys have. The first one was, how do you balance building enrollment when you're a micro school wearing multiple hats? We get that one regularly. That is one we're always pushing back to, like having an SMT, that school marketing team, with students if at all possible, but if not, getting some parents on there. You might, even if you have some relationship or a local college, you might get a college intern that actually could come over there and say, hey, I'm willing to help this. I'm wanting to have a marketing degree one day, or I'm going for a marketing degree. Think about some of the resources that are in your area, or even just a kid maybe from your church or a local area that say, hey, I'll be willing to help you for volunteer hours. So try not to wear all the hats. I know that's really hard, guys, but if you try and use the resources that you have available when it comes to the families and the kids. And then number 2 is how to bolster new enrollment during uncertain economic times. I'm always telling people, hey, the local sales calls, like I was telling you, for whether it's local pastors, preschools, daycares, that's been very successful for the schools we've talked about, because it doesn't cost anything but potentially doing some donuts or bagels to get in front of them. So do that to get people right away. Like Facebook ads and Instagram ads are going to be great, but those get really expensive really quickly. And so I don't encourage that one. If you have no budget for that, you just want to start building relationships now that you guys can use going forward for that one. And then the last one that we got beforehand was, how do you raise money to help families who want to enroll? And so I would recommend, there's so many options out there, but if you guys check out joinchangemaker.com, uh, full disclosure, we did acquire this company at the end of 2024, and it is Change Roundup. So we've been pushing this to our clients saying, hey, like this is a great way to get funds for the classroom or funds for tuition aid, kind of whatever the school is wanting. But you just get people to sign up their credit card to donate their spare change every month. And so it's automatic monthly deposits into your account. So if somebody says, oh, I'm going to go get gas for $25.50, it rounds up to $26 and you get 50 cents automatically deposited into your school account at the end of the month. Doesn't cost your school anything. The only thing it was a $100 sign up fee, but I talked with Whitney beforehand. And if anybody from Micro Schools Network wants to sign up, we're not going to charge you guys anything. Your setup fee would be waived. And so if you guys wanted to do this, it's literally kind of like a no brainer. It doesn't, for you guys, it doesn't cost anything to do it, but you just get people to sign up to be a change maker, to donate their spare change digitally to you guys every month. And that's a great way you could use for tuition aid funds if you guys wanted to. It adds up really fast too. Our average donation in the platform is $20 a month from people who sign up their spare change. So if you got 100 total people, grandmas, aunts, uncles to sign up, you're on average about $2,000 a month, about 20 grand a year, just from 100 people signed up to donate their spare change. So it adds up really, really fast, and doesn't cost you guys a thing if you guys are interested in it. So let me go on. Look at that, 12:59 Eastern time. Perfect timing. So let me go back to questions. Yes, perfect.
So we had a question about newsletter. Do you think that's a great way to keep in touch with former interested families?
100%. So I encourage you guys to have two separate ones if you can. I know it's extra hats to wear, but ChatGPT can help write a lot of these. Have one for like your already enrolled families, just keeping them up to date with what's going on in the school. But then you also should have something that's for non-enrolled. So you're sharing like, hey, here's some things we did, some field trips we went on, some things we learned this year. You kind of want you're using it to brag about the school. Here's what we're up to. Here's kind of what you're missing out on. And using that as a regular communication piece to potential families is huge. And it doesn't cost you guys anything except it's a quick time to craft an email and hit send to all the people that are in your contact list to keep your name in front of them in your inbox. So definitely use a newsletter for sure. I saw the other one, how to use social media, and you connected a webinar. Perfect. Yeah. So social media, that one to do it really well, it can take a long time to do it. That's a perfect thing for a college student or a kid to do.
Yeah, it's a deep conversation. But yeah, actually we did one with Prenda recently, and she has an amazing social media strategy and approach and things that she's gotten so many different things. So I think it's a good one. I learned a lot. I think everyone can learn a lot from like basics to really advanced social media marketing.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? This is your moment to shine.
This is it. So how about attrition? What kind of things like off the hand do you think are really key for keeping families, checking in with them as they're going through the process, surveying them? I mean, what sort of formal things do you typically recommend?
Thank you. And I totally spaced that on my notes, literally right in front of my eyeballs here. So, and I started on it. So overly communicating. So a lot of times schools, what happens later is a person will say, hey, we're not going to re-enroll. And that's when the school typically goes, oh my gosh, like, what could we do? What could we have done? Like they do that then, like, what could we have done or what could we have done better when they should have done it 6 months ago, 9 months ago? And so we encourage schools to check in multiple times throughout the year. And that's where the overly communicate piece comes in. You could do a simple like Google form or Google survey to send out to people to kind of get a judge on like, hey, how do you feel like we're doing? Is there anything we could do better? Because I know you guys, you would want to know if the school started in September, you'd want to know in November if there was something that was bugging somebody so you could talk to them and potentially fix it if it's a fixable problem for them. Then to hear about it in April or March when they don't re-enroll and you're like, well, wait, what happened? Like, yeah, this thing's been bothering me since, November or January or whatever it is. And you're like, oh my goodness, why didn't you tell me? And you're like, well, you didn't ask. And so what we've seen for attrition is, man, the more you can be in front of that and communicate to them, asking for their opinion, but actually like using it. Some schools do surveys and they're like, that was great information, but they don't actually use it to follow up with them. That's been the number one piece for attrition for the schools is talking to their families regularly and getting a judge on like, hey, how are we doing? Is there anything we can do better? And then actually do what they're saying.
Yeah, and also, I mean, right, then that's another avenue for your newsletter too, talking about like we got this feedback and this is something we're working on. We'd love to hear more of your feedback. You know, you can keep doing it. I think especially micro school owners, right? They have such a close, intimate relationship with families too. So I think
Yep.
sometimes families feel hesitant to express all of this, and then maybe it comes out at the very end, or you know, you have a great relationship with parents, and so sometimes stuff that really bothers them, it's too small to mention, and then like you said, it builds up, and then all of a sudden it becomes something bigger than it ever needed to be.
Yeah.
So it's super important.
Awesome.
Well, thank you,
Anybody
Mitchell.
else? Yeah.
This has been so great. Um, I'm going to send out a recording to this tomorrow. I'm going to post it on YouTube if you want to send it out to other people that have
Sure.
questions. And then I'll also include your contact details if people want to get in touch with you about anything. Um, and if you have any questions, you can certainly directly contact Mitchell, and we're also here as well. So I just wanted to also give a quick plug as well to our new certificate program. And so we've got a certificate program that's starting from October of this year. Oops, sorry, that went a little bit too big. And that is, it's a great program that's for both teachers, for administrators. And so basically the first part of it is we have a really deep dive into teaching, mentorship teaching, what it looks like in the classroom, really, really good teaching. Because we said, you know, a lot of micro school owners are either coming from a space where they're entrepreneurs with little teaching experience, or they have a lot of teaching experience and they don't have the business side of things. And so we crafted a dual certificate program that addresses both of these things. So if you want to learn more, I'm certainly happy to send you more information about it, and you can check it out under the website. And we're also excited to have hopefully more webinars on best practice next academic year. This is the last one of our this academic year. So a really great one to round it out, Mitchell. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming in and spending some time.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Take
summer.
care. You too. Good luck with your wife, too,
Thank you
and
very
the
much.
new
Appreciate
addition
it.
to your family.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.